Sam sat there finishing breakfast while back upstairs Vance was still seething over the conversation. Vinny remained hard at work playing with the bright red lion plushie he'd been given and had taken a liking to chewing it. "Come on, kiddo, time to get dressed," Rain said as she picked him up, plushie and all. "Vance, Vin needs to be changed." Without bothering to get off the bed, the door swung open and he crossed his arms.
"Changed for what?"
he grumbled as Vincent threw the plushie at his head.
"Vincent, what did you do that for?"
"I guess he knows you're being unreasonable. Jenny's taking him to the parade, so he needs his clothes." Vance snapped his fingers and a set of clothing about Vincent's size manifested across the mattress.
"Put him down, I'll take care of it,"
he grumbled while the boy reached for Rain's hair, which had been braided to the side. "No, Vinny."
"Not pleasant, is it?"
Vance asked and went to remove his brother's shirt. "It's still not a reason to scream at him. Why do you let Sam get to you? He's a dead man. Let him have his fun."
"That's just it, Rain. It's fun. He enjoys it. I've seen what Grimdark does to people. Humans can't control it. They might think they can, but they can't. He's gonna wind up being assimilated in due time. You really think the archetype would give him free range of its abilities? All it's gotta do is wait until he suckers himself into being energy dependent, and then it'll corrupt his mind, bit by bit. Eventually he won't exist anymore. It'll just be that thing."
"It's his fate, Vance. He's gonna die and we can't stop it."
"He's already dead, Rain. It's his soul that's gonna be consumed. He's just too pig-headed to realize it."
"At least you tried," she offered. "We can only warn him."
"Yeah, right. Like Soren did? Like you and Leah did? He's dangerous. You've seen that thing he turns into. One of these days it might decide not to play by his rules. Vinny seems to think he's Rose, which is definitely not a good thing."
Vance finished dressing his brother and hoisted him onto his lap.
"You heard him last night. He said he thinks Vincent tastes like chicken. How much of that do you think was actually a joke?"
"He doesn't know his limits. He's a wild card."
"Yeah, well, he seems to like to get a kick out of causing trouble in general. I don't want that thing around my brother."
"So what are you saying? You want to move? He's only got a week of freedom, and Halloween is almost here."
"Don't remind me,"
Vance grumbled.
"What are you laughing at, Tiny?"
"He's the cutest little thing." Rain picked him up. "Ready for the parade, Vin?"
"Have fun."
"You're not coming?"
"I can't go out in public like this."
Vance looked down at his claws. "Can't you fix it?"
"No, he jerked my system around. There is, believe it or not, such a thing as too much Grimdark. I have to wait until it wears off. If it wears off, little shit."
"Vance, stop being such a sourpuss. It's just a holiday. We're trying to cheer you up."
"If."
Vinny went to reach for him.
"Just go to your parade."
"Vin, your brother's being a mope." Rain thought for a second. "Vance, get over Liz. Seriously. She becomes a slut, according to Sam. If she hadn't had his attention before, she sure as hell had it now."
"What did you just say?"
"Sam told me she becomes a slut," Rain replied flatly. "So, clearly she's not worth anyone's time."
"Screw what Sam says. I don't want to hear anything that comes out of his mouth." "If."
Vinny gave him a pout.
"No, Vin, I'm not going to the parade. You can go with Rain and her friends. Besides, isn't Leah supposed to be there?"
His gaze suddenly narrowed.
"Hey, Rain, maybe you should try and pass him off as me. Make up some crazy story about a shrink ray or something. You're good at those, aren't you?"
"Jenny and Vincent are going to be elsewhere. Leah and I are going to the parade before a party. I don't want her to see him."
"Yeah, well, go have your fun then."
"What's wrong now? Do you want to come? Is that it?"
"No."
"Then what?"
"Leave me alone. I don't need nor want to share my problems with anyone, least of all you."
"Well, in case you haven't noticed, Vancelyn, I'm the only person willing to listen."
"Who says I want you to listen?"
he hissed.
"I hate this fucking month, and I'm not happy about anything that's happened in the last several. What more do you want from me?"
"You're ridiculous." Rain picked up Vincent to deliver him to Johnny. At the sound of their ruckus, Sam lowered his glasses. "Oh, what happened? You two have a lover's spat?" "Shut your face, Hayne. We're not together." Johnny emerged wearing a fur coat made of fox. "You sound like you are." She took Vincent. "Ready, my love? You two behave in this house," she warned as she handed Sam an envelope full of cash. "Sweetness!" Shaking her head, Rain grabbed her jacket as well. "I'll see you guys later." "Be careful at that party," Johnny warned. Going their separate ways, she walked directly to the parade. Rain had stopped to pick up Leah, and the two girls eagerly arrived. Vincent had never seen anything quite like it. Staring at the enormous floats depicting gigantic pumpkins and people in costume, he clapped his hands and squealed as they came rolling through the streets. Bringing up the front was a float carved to look like a skull, while following it was a zombie marching band. Still moping around in his room, Vance could hear the noise from across the block, although made no move to leave or even look out his window. If he had, he probably would have noticed the streak of shadowed energy that swiftly began to creep toward the oncoming parade. "Why couldn't we go to that school?" Rain sighed as she saw the band. "Because we're vampires and we have to go to a creepy Catholic prep school." Leah toyed with her jacket. Her auburn hair hung loose and fell past her shoulders. Rolling up behind the band as not to drown out the music, an eerie scene approached. Decked on the back of a flatbed, it resembled a graveyard with huge loudspeakers built to look like cemetery gates. Slowly but surely, a familiar melody began to take the air, and several automatic trapdoors spread apart beneath a number of well-crafted headstones. Crawling out were half a dozen high school cheerleaders and a couple of jocks dressed in the most extravagant makeup imaginable. Rising onto the float, none of them seemed to think anything of the large void that suddenly opened toward the front as a boy none of them recognized, dressed in dark leather jacket and sunglasses, stepped out with a microphone and a mischievous grin. "Who is that?" one of the girls whispered. "I don't know, but his makeup is amazing," another said before Sam reached up to snap his fingers and the unmistakable sound of Michael Jackson's Thriller began to blast through the streets. Half a dozen zombies broke into the classic choreography behind him while people cheered from the sidelines.
"Is that Sam?"
Leah gasped.
"No way!"
"That idiot!" Rain exclaimed in disbelief. "Since when did he move to Jersey?" Finishing the song, Sam threw up his hands. "Thank you," he laughed. "I'll be here all week." Turning to face the now curious high schoolers, he gave them a grin and tossed the microphone to one of the jocks. "Take it away, pal," he said before vanishing in a burst of black fog. "I didn't know they installed a fog machine," another girl squealed while the float went on to finish the parade. "I can't believe him," Jenny laughed, enjoying it as much as Vinny did. "Aw, what's the matter? You don't like my little stunt?" Appearing behind her, he was grinning from ear to ear, and Vincent continued to clap. "Oh, so you like me now, huh?" "I enjoyed it very much," Jenny replied. "You are bold." "I don't think Rain enjoyed it, though. I can only imagine." "Aw, please. She's just jealous it wasn't her up there. And come on, you didn't think I'd let Vance have all the fun, did you? I always wanted to do that." "I was impressed. You had your 5 minutes of fame and no one suffered. It was entertaining." She looked down at Vinny, who squealed happily. He was delighted by it. "Oh, come on, I might be a dead guy, but I'm not a bad guy." Sam reached out to muse Vinny's hair. "Vance is the one who thinks you gotta hurt people to have fun. He's a jerk. That's why he'll always only ever be second best." He pulled his hands away as the boy finally got fed up and went to bite him. "Whoa, kid, really bad idea." "Vincent, don't bite. Vance is a difficult character. I do not understand him, and I do not know why he doesn't see that Rain is trying to help." "I don't know either." Sam crossed his arms. "I think it has something to do with the fact he's still not over Liz. I also kind of think I understand a little bit more what he's been going through." He rubbed his neck. "I mean, I had a normal life once, but damn. After 3 years of what I've been through, that'd make anybody pretty sour. He probably just doesn't know what nice is." "Probably not. But how do you make someone understand what kindness is?" Sam shrugged. "I don't know. Then again, as far as Rain goes, my money says the two of them are going to kill each other unless somebody gives them a little nudge." "If you really want to give them a nudge," Johnny shook her finger, "do not tell me about it. I don't think manipulating someone is acceptable." "Who says I have to manipulate them? There's more than one way to do things. I mean, look at Vinny." He smiled at the boy who returned it. "Half an hour ago, all he wanted to do was scream at me. There's always a way to get through to people. You just gotta know how. Vance is a soul eater, right? He doesn't know from kindness, but he knows from souls. If you can't get him to understand with words, maybe words aren't exactly the right approach. I saw what he did at that dance. If it's any correlation to Vincent here, I think I might be catching on as to how to do this." "What's your plan, then, since you've figured out how to use your gift?" "I wouldn't call it a gift," he scoffed. "My plan, though, is to get Vance and Rain to that Halloween party. In order to get through to someone, you gotta speak their language. You just handle getting her to go. I'll take care of the details. If I'm wrong, no harm done. But if I'm right, maybe the two of them will actually have a good time." "I can get her to go, but you take care of Vance." "Oh, don't worry. I think I know someone who can help me persuade him." "Who?" "You'll just have to wait and see. If I'm gonna pull this off, I'm gonna need somebody who has connections. I think she'll help me." His grin widened. "As a matter of fact, I'm sure of it." "Who is she? Vance's ex?" "I wouldn't call her his ex, but I'm pretty sure she's still pissed about that, and I'm kind of booking on it." "Would that not be counterproductive?" "Oh, don't worry. It's cool. This is gonna work, Jenny." "I hope so, for all of our sakes." "Oh, Vinny, look at the vampire float." "Hey, where's Rain?" Sam suddenly got a mischievous idea. "Across the street to the left of me, with Leah." "Oh, really?" Rubbing his hands together, he began to grin. "You think she wants to have some fun?" He didn't wait for a response as he sunk back into the dark. Slinking its way toward the float, a streak of black crept up the side as several gaudy-looking vampires stood there waving. None of the kids really seemed to be as involved as the zombies were, although that was about to change as Sam stepped out and pushed his way toward the head of the crowd with a microphone. Grinning from ear to ear, his attention fell on Rain, and he pointed straight in her direction. "Yo, ladies and gentlemen, we got something real special for you coming up right now." He turned toward one of the girls behind him and motioned her over. Adorning an extravagant red dress with a Celtic cross hanging from her neck, she eyed him when he wrapped an arm around her shoulder. I got a friend out there who needs a little cheering up because honestly, she's more dead right now than I am. This one goes out to Rain and her pal Leah. Happy Halloween, y'all. He laughed as he flung the microphone into the girl's hand and her expression became ghosted. Taking a step forward, she brought it to her lips and immediately broke into a highly technified version of Zombie by the Cranberries. Rain's face burned with warmth and her eyes turned the color of honey. Leah was likewise red, although more so out of flattery. Come on, Rain, it's cool. She elbowed her with a laugh. Nobody else in the crowd seemed to care. Vincent continued to squeal, and even Vance had finally gotten up to stick his head out the window. Look, Vinny. Janny snapped a picture of Sam while Rain gave him a reluctant smile. Throwing her a thumbs up, he was glad she seemed embarrassed, but also that she wasn't fuming mad. Riding out the rest of the parade, he jumped off the float and vanished before anyone had the chance to notice. The girls lingered until later in the day. Janny, however, stayed with Vincent, holding him calmly till the last of the floats came around. By the time the event ended, he was getting fidgety, not to mention hungry. Vance had taken to watching from the bedroom window, tracing lines along its frame while Sam slipped back into the apartment around noon. Come, Vinny. Janny could sense him getting fussy, and the last thing she needed was for him to reveal his teeth. Enamored by her coat, he buried his face in it as she went for the door. Vance, she called upstairs, do you want to feed your brother? Catching her voice from afar, he didn't want to come down and instead called for her to bring him up. You should have come to the parade.
Yeah, because I can totally go into public looking like this, he said flatly while Vincent began to yank on his antenna again. Besides, what would I have wanted to watch Hayne make a fool of himself for anyway? It's close enough to Halloween that you could have gotten away with it, she smiled. Sam enjoyed himself, as did everyone else. I even convinced Rain to go to the dance. The poor girl is terrified. Is she really that antisocial?
She's just afraid of being human.
What-huh?
Vance arched a brow.
Wait, what?
She doesn't want to be human, you know, despite being half. It makes her feel vulnerable.
What?
That was a little much, even for him.
How? You know what she put me through defending those little fuckers? Siding with Sam and his deadbeat friend? Now you're telling me she doesn't want to be one? What, now that she's seen the other end of the spectrum, it makes her feel like she's not worthy or something?
Johnny sighed. Vance, when you first met Rain, she was trying to keep herself safe. Your presence, I'm sure, attracted a lot of unwanted attention. It made her nervous. You were a threat to her, even if you didn't mean to be. I told her to try and be human, and she didn't want to listen. She's seen what it does to a person.
Do I look vulnerable to you?
He asked with a flat stare.
What about Sam? Aside from being an irresponsible asshole, does he look like the kind of person you'd want to tangle with?
You tried to kill yourself over a little girl, and Sam is going to be responsible for the deaths of many, including himself. Vance brushed her point aside.
Sam's already responsible for his own death. Just because you're half of something doesn't mean you need to let it define you. I made a big mistake a while back, and it cost me a portion of my soul. There's a half of me I don't want anything to do with. I'm willing to bet it's responsible for this mess I'm in right now. But that doesn't mean I'm going to worry about it or let it control my life. Rain shouldn't either. Shit happens, right, Vinny?
He looked down at the boy who peered at him happily. Then why are you still sitting here being miserable?
Because I'm a miserable person. That's just what I do. And I hate Halloween.
Sure, she said calmly. I think Rain and you would be more miserable together at that dance.
Are you trying to pair us up? I don't feel like making a scene, especially not at a Catholic school dance party. It's probably going to be boring as death anyway.
I am not trying to pair you. Sam can't go because he's half dead. I know you've had bad experiences before, but Rain is not like that other girl.
Yeah, Liz never tried to kill me. I don't know, Johnny. And please, do you honestly think being half dead is going to stop that freak from fucking around?
Well, I was thinking he could be Leah's date, she said slyly.
Now that would be something, wouldn't it? A vampire zombie? You think she would go for it? I mean, let's face it, he is pretty hideous.
It's Halloween. So, will you ask her?
Will I ask who? Rain? Why the hell do I have to ask her? I don't even want to go.
But Vance, she's so miserable. Please, she's never had a date in her life. This would be her first Halloween.
I don't want to date her.
He threw up his hands.
I don't even like her. The only reason we aren't killing each other right now is, well, him.
He pointed at Vinny, who noticed Jenny's pout and mimicked it.
Aunt!
He cooed and continued to yank.
Ugh, not you too. Why don't you go with her?
He asked the boy. You don't have to date her. Jenny's eyes watered suggestively. You could just take her out for a couple of hours to a small high school party and perhaps make someone's day special.
Oh yeah? And what's Leah gonna say when she sees that? According to Rain, she doesn't even know I'm here.
Vance wasn't buying the act at all. She'll be too busy dealing with Sam. Johnny had that poor me expression drawn out on her face. Vance, please. Look at how hard she's tried to redeem herself by offering you a place to stay and taking care of your brother. His expression only grew flatter.
All right, I'll tell you what. If you can get her to come to me and ask, I'll go. Otherwise, I don't want to hear another word about it. Sound fair?
What? Johnny sat up. Vance, the entire purpose of going to a school dance is for the girl to get asked by the guy.
She already said she didn't want to go. If you want me to take her to some stupid function I don't even want to be a part of, then she's got to be willing to ask. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to feed my brother before he rips my antenna off my head.
Johnny didn't like not getting her way. Fixing her coat, she left him alone and headed downstairs to pour herself some wine. Still seemingly asleep, Sam had heard her emerge, and without looking up addressed her. My money says you didn't make any headway. You would be right there, she sighed. I think I will leave this to you, my persuasive little friend. Let me guess. Vance won't go unless Rain asks, and Rain won't go unless Vance asks. That sound about right? I didn't think humans had such good hearing. They don't, he chuckled, although left it at that. What time does Rain get back from that party with Leah? Probably in a matter of hours, after she's had a couple of beers. Johnny didn't look happy about that either. Why? Rubbing his hands together, Sam sat up with a grin. I think it's time for some intervention. Getting to his feet, he turned to face her and adjusted his glasses. By the time he'd done so, his entire image had shifted to a splitting replication of Vancelin's. What you think? Scary enough for you? Johnny stopped and her eyes widened. How did you do that? I was not aware you could shapeshift. I can do anything. Turning to look at himself in the mirror, Sam realized he'd forgotten about Vance's antenna. Reaching up, he grabbed a fistful of his hair and manipulated it like clay to create exact replicas. There we go. Wouldn't want to miss a detail like that. And it's not just Vance. Turning back to her, he shifted again, this time to an exact replica of Rain. I play both sides. Gotta wait till she gets home, though. Wouldn't want to have to explain that one. Good point, Johnny mused. I think you should go too, Sam. With Leah. With Leah? He took a step forward and returned to his own state of being. I plan to go to the dance, but I'm not sure I'm looking for a date. Besides, one kiss can be fatal. I was not aware that is what going to a dance with someone entailed. She winked at him. The lass needs a date, and since Rain is going to be stuck with Vance, you can't go stag, being the Lord of Darkness and all. Oh, don't worry, I'm not. I had a little talk with a new friend of mine who's agreed to, help me be persuasive, he chuckled. If Leah needs the company, I'll take her, but she's gonna have to keep her mouth shut when it comes to what I got planned. You'll have to take that up with her. A new friend, The archetype? Not quite. Don't worry, I'm sure you'll hear all about it. It's a Catholic school, isn't it? Oh, man, I can't wait to see those headlines. Just don't kill anyone. Hey, I'm not Vance, alright? Sam's tone darkened and he crossed his arms. I'm not an animal. This whole thing is supposed to make Rain feel better, not worse. The spirit of Halloween is mischief, not malice, and I plan to make good use of it. If you say so. I know so. Returning several hours later, Rain seemed to be in a good mood. She dropped Leah off at her house before walking back with a smile. It's not even midnight and you're buzzed. Johnny sounded concerned. Having returned to Vance's persona, Sam was waiting for her in the living room. Removing his sunglasses, he folded them into his pocket and got up to follow her into the kitchen, tone matching Vance's perfectly.
A little too much to drink there, Rain?
A bit, she shrugged.
You know, I wanted to talk to you about something.
Rain gave him a curious look, and despite being buzzed, recognized it was a rare thing for him to ask her anything.
I've been doing a lot of thinking lately, and I realized I kind of been a dick to you people.
He shuffled his stance.
I've just been so out of it over Liz and all. I'm not really good at these kind of things, but I guess I owe you an apology. I've been pretty selfish between Vincent and Halloween and Sam because he's a douchebag. I guess what I'm trying to say is you deserve better, and if you really want to go to the dance, I could take you.
Staring at him for a moment, Rain seemed confused. You want to take me? She suddenly looked very timid. Is Johnny paying you?
No.
He shook his head.
Besides, I think she already spent all her money making a bet.
He snickered.
She had a talk with me, and she was right. You deserve to have a good Halloween. It's the best holiday there is, you know? Especially for people like us. Forget what happened at Greenville. This'll be different. It's gonna be the one day of the year you can be yourself and not be judged for it. I, amongst them all, should be the one to know. So what do you say? Be my date?
Staring at him with large blue eyes, Rain looked both confused and embarrassed. Yeah, she found herself saying, despite the churn in her stomach.
Great. I'll let you get back to your binge drinking. I gotta go run upstairs and check on my brother. I'll be back in a few.
Jerking a thumb over his shoulder, he tore from the room and hurried up the stairs in the direction of Vancelin's door. Is he drunk too? Rain asked as Johnny twirled the wine glass. No, my dear, but you are.